Sweet. Yo, what's up guys? Kevin here. In this video, I wanted to do a live chat talking about my top 3 snowboard bindings from the past year. So in the last year, I got to ride many different pairs and just really wanted to highlight my top 3 pairs for you guys and also connect them to which boards I rode them with also. So I'm going to talk to you guys about my top 3 pairs and then also do a Q&A with you guys afterwards. Right off the start, let's just check in on the live chat, make sure everyone can hear me, everyone that the stream is running smoothly. Maybe just give me a thumbs up, guys, in the live chat to let me know everything is going well. YouTube is telling me that it's not going very well, but let's see what people are saying. A few shout outs. Thanks Thane for tuning in. Brad, El Stacker. We got Dave here. We got Nabo, A Million Pop-Off saying looks and sounds great. Awesome guys, sweet. So let's get into it. So my top 3 bindings from the past season. Each binding is very different. So no 2 of these bindings are the same. And I just wanted to start off with talking about the bent metal transfer bindings. So this binding, I rode it on my GNU Headspace, and it is definitely like the softest binding I've ridden this past year. And for me, this was like my go-to binding for the park and also for like butters and also days where I'm just like taking it easy. And I also think that this is a great binding for a beginner intermediate rider. So the reason I like the bent metal transfer so much for the park and for butters is because it's a very soft flex binding. So if you're looking for a binding that you can take into the park for, riding, hitting some smaller features, maybe some first tricks or small tricks, this is like the perfect binding because it's very easy to like tweak in it, to get your board into different positions, to go for different tricks. It's just like a very malleable binding. So as you want to put some torque on your snowboard, it's going to do it, but it's not going to really over exaggerate it. It's going to give you that kind of more loose feeling, which is what you want for butters and for doing tricks. So another thing that helps with that too is that this binding has a smaller disc. So this footbed part pops off pretty easily. And then you have this like small disc area. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's a smaller disc, and that small disc actually helps to make your board flex more easily as well. So across all brands of bindings, they do, most brands will have like a beginner intro or just like softer binding. And last year I tested out the bent metal transfer and was really impressed. Another thing I really liked about these bindings was on the high back, you have this square here for adjusting your stance. For adjusting the amount of forward lean. And for beginners, forward lean can be a little bit frustrating trying to adjust it. But with this square, it makes it super easy. You just turn the square and then it adjusts how much forward lean you have. So for me, I locked it into I guess there's 4 settings. I had it on 3, and that just gave me like a good medium amount of forward lean. And then the straps on this binding were comfortable as well. So the ankle strap was very comfortable, kind of like a 3D molded shape to your boot. And if you can tell too, the shape of it, it was kind of wider on the sides and then narrow in the middle. And it kind of pinches in the middle a bit too. So allowing the strap to really fit to the shape of your boot. And just overall, I had a great time with this binding, soft park binding. And one that I'd really recommend for beginners. And I rode this with my Headspace. So I'll show you guys that as well. And the Headspace is like a soft board, which the softer binding kind of really just came in perfect. What else can I say about this? Yeah, I think it's good for beginners, intermediate park riders, or if you're really into butters, the bent metal transfer. And yeah, I had a good time with it. I think the first time I rode it was about a year ago in New Zealand. And yeah, if you guys have checked out some of those videos, you saw that I just really enjoyed riding this binding, and it was nice. So highly recommend it. The next binding on the list is kind of like the opposite binding. So something that is stiff and aggressive. Oh, before I continue, just gonna check in on the chat. Some people saying it's lagging. Okay, some people saying it's all good. All right, I'm just gonna keep it going. Yeah, I hope the quality comes through clear for you guys. But yeah, the next binding on the list of my top threes is the Now Drive binding. So this binding is completely different from the bent metal transfer. This one is like stiff. You can just feel the stiffness through this binding. Aggressive, beefier straps, and also the disc in the bottom is also a larger, oh, dropping some screws, also a larger disc than the other ones. So with the large disc, it's actually going to really designed for a stiffer snowboard. So a board that you're not going to get a ton of flex out of, I think can go with a binding that has a larger disc, bigger footprint on your board. But also with this stiffer binding on a stiffer board. So for me, I was riding this binding with my Libtech Orca, which is a more aggressive board, and it was for riding in like steep terrain, places maybe riding through powder at high speeds, hitting cliff drops, places where I needed a binding that was very reactive, and that would, if I put a lot of force and pressure into it, this binding would respond. So it was definitely my favorite for powder last year, for carving, for going at high speeds. And it was because of this, the rigid construction, the stiffness of it, that larger disc, and just overall, when I would go to initiate a turn with this binding, it would really activate the board. So it wasn't going just like a little bit onto my toes or a little bit onto my heels. When he went to activate this binding, it really just like acted quickly, and which is what you need for high speeds through powder and like cliff drops. You can't be waiting for the board or the binding to respond. You need it right away. So that's definitely what the Now Drive binding did. And it's also got some beefier ankle straps here. So this is pretty fat. It's also a bit narrower in the middle, fatter towards the sides. And this binding was, the strap was actually really comfortable too. So on some of these more aggressive bindings, sometimes you then sacrifice some comfort, but because of this really thick, comfortable strap, it just felt really nice on your boot. And then also the toe cap too is a pretty, actually this is probably one of the standouts of the binding is the toe. So the toe strap, it almost feels like a soft like glove coming over the toe of your boot. So I really like that as well. So even though you're getting that aggressive feel out of the binding, it's still giving you some comfort. And the base too has some good padding on it as well. So overall, this was a great binding for powder on my Libtech Orca, the Now Drive. Really liked it. The Now bindings also have skate tech. So it's like a technology that kind of drives the force you put into the binding, I guess more quickly to where you want it on the board. But to be honest, I never did like a comparison where I tested out the skate tech, so I can't really comment on how much that worked for me. But I was really impressed with this binding. Always liked getting it out into the powder with my Orca. So yeah, really, really great binding. So moving on. Before I move on, let's check in on the chat one more time. And I'm also going to answer any questions you guys have after I go through the third pair. So thank you guys all for tuning in. Let's see how many people we got watching at the moment. All right, we got 174 people watching. Very cool. And 47 likes. Yeah, thank you guys so much. I hope my computer is doing well and this is coming through smooth for you guys. But let's get into the third pair of bindings. The third pair are the Union Stratus. And I rode these first about a year ago, a few times, and then I've recently started riding them again the last like three months. And the Union Stratas are a binding that fall like right in the middle, I think, between the bent metal transfers, the soft flex binding, and in between the now drive stiffer binding. This one's a bit more medium flex and a bit more do everything. So I've been riding this binding with my Capita Super DOA, and again, the Super DOA is a similar kind of board too that falls in the middle. It's a bit stiffer. It does have some flex to it. And so with the Stratas and the DOA, I've been riding in the park. I've also been riding powder. And the thing I like about this binding, a few things I like. So that mid flex, it does give you that responsiveness you need in places like powder. And it also, in the terrain park, I feel like that bit of a stiffer park feeling binding actually gives me more responsiveness in the park as well. So for hitting larger jumps, for riding with more speed, this binding feels like it's more stable than a softer binding. But it is still a park oriented binding, so it has the smaller disc, so allowing your board to flex a bit more naturally. So it's got the small disc, which is good. And it also has very comfortable straps as well. The straps are definitely a bit softer. So for riding in the park, you get that softer feel on your ankle and on your toes. And also on the toes, you have this cool webbing too, which really helps to hold the toe strap onto the toe of your boot. On some straps, I can sometimes find the toe strap falling off. But with the Union Stratas, because of the webbing, it helps to hold it onto the boot. And so this has been like a binding that I feel like I can ride in all conditions. So just like the Super DOA, you can kind of take it into all conditions. This binding is pretty decent in all conditions too. Soft enough to take it into the park, but then stiff enough to ride with stability through powder and through all mountain conditions as well. So I've been really impressed with it. It also has a lot of this like softer padding around the base plate, so giving you that like cushioning and dampening as you're riding, which is important. And yeah, just overall, stoked on it. I'm probably gonna ride this binding most of the time this season because it's so versatile. The one thing with this binding is that the high back, to adjust it, you do have to have a screwdriver. So I carry a screwdriver up the mountain with me anyway, and I really don't adjust my bindings that often. But it's good to have, that's one good thing to be aware of, is that you do need a screwdriver to adjust the high back. But yeah, I've been riding this binding with my Capita Super DOA. So here's the DOA with the, make sure I don't knock anything over here. But yeah, mid-flex board, the mid-flex binding. Both the setup can kind of is very versatile for park and for all mountain and powder riding. Cool. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. If you guys have, I hope that helps to clear up anything with when you're looking for a binding choice. You definitely want to pair your bindings, the style of binding with the style of board you're going for. So that really helps. So let's get into questions. If you guys have any questions about bindings, about boards, or about anything with snowboarding, definitely hit me up. Let's do some shout outs before the questions. All right. Hope this is running smooth for you guys. All right. People are asking about a snowboard giveaway. No snowboard giveaway at the moment for Pure Poison, but I do have some snowboards that I'm going to be giving away at some point this season, but not at the moment. But thanks for the request, Pure Poison. Nabo the Mighty with a super chat. Thanks for the support. Says nothing to ask, just sending some Christmas cheer. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Nabo, for the support. Epic, man. Merry Christmas to you too. Hope everyone's having some good plans for Christmas in the future? Van de Put saying, have you ever ridden the Now Select bindings? I haven't ridden the Now Selects. No, I'll have to keep an eye on those, give them a try. We got a GoPro question. It says, Lychee says, hi Kevin, when using your GoPro Max on the mountain, do you use the protective caps or not? I just got my Max today and can't wait to use it. Yeah, so on the GoPro Max, it's actually around here. So you've got the lenses, but then the lenses, there's also like a clear cap that comes on that you can add onto it as well. I don't use those clear caps just because the amount of times I've already thrown and dropped this GoPro, I would just figure that those plastic caps would have been lost already. So I don't use them, but if you're gonna but I guess the risk is that if you scratch this lens, then that scratch is there forever. So yeah, it's probably a good idea to use them, but I haven't used them yet. All right. Matthew says, do you think the Stratas will be fine for riding park 70% of the time? I do. Yeah, I think if it's kind of a great park binding, if I think I guess you could be beginner to low advanced. I think if you get going towards like really big jumps and like big rails at high speeds, then you may want a stiffer binding. Or if you're really into but yeah, below that, I think it's a good sort of 70% park binding for sure. Because it's soft enough that as you're riding in park, it doesn't feel restrictive at all. It really allows you to get into those snowboard tricks. So yeah, I think it's a good choice for 70% park. All right, I got the use of my mouse back. A second ago, it wasn't. It was freezing up on me. Taha says, Kev, I have some pressure point pain at the side of my feet with my Union Stratas. Do you notice anything like that? No, I haven't noticed anything like that. That's are you sure that it's the bindings and not your boots? One thing you can do also is you can adjust the straps pretty easily. So make sure you adjust your straps so that they're centered on your boot when you're tightening them. I would say make sure to check that first. And yeah, that's kind of that's a strange one. I haven't heard anyone having pressure points on the side from bindings. Also make sure that your boots are the right size for your bindings. If the binding is too small, then that could be giving you some weird pressure points. And I guess, yeah, make sure that it is the binding and not just the boots. But yeah, I hope you can sort that out, man. We got another super chat from Hajor Saders. Says, why do you want to swap your bindings out? Why do you want to swap your bindings out? I think you're asking, yeah, it's like for different types of riding, you want to have different bindings. So sometimes you do maybe want to have, if it's a powder day, have a stiffer pair of bindings. And, if you're using the same board, and then if you're riding park, then maybe have a softer pair of bindings. So that would be one reason why you would want to be able to swap bindings for different styles of riding. I remember one day last year where I thought I was going to be riding powder and ended up going up and riding in the terrain park, and having my stiffer bindings on my board made such a huge difference, and it made it really difficult to ride in the park. They were just too stiff, too aggressive, too responsive for park riding. So for me, I definitely need to swap them out depending on what kind of riding I'm doing. All right, Dave Evans with the super chat. Awesome, thanks for the sticker, man. Appreciate the support. Sinorara Basa says, if you don't have a waxing iron and wax, what can you use to wax your board? If you don't have a waxing iron and wax, what can you do to wax your board? Well, you need to wax your board, you need both those things. So look online, check out, see if there's any sales on. But having if you don't want to get that, you can also take it somewhere to get waxed too. So bring it to a snowboard shop, they'll wax it for you. Maybe the average price is maybe around $20. And but yeah, if you don't want to do that, then you need to buy a waxing iron and some wax. All right, some binding questions coming through. Let's see if I can find them. Dylan says, Kevin, is a wide style board a good idea for border cross? Yeah, I think it depends. If you have big feet and you don't want your toes or heels dragging in the snow at all, then you need to get a wider board. So make sure the width of your board is wide enough so that you don't get any heel or toe drag. And for border cross, for racing, you definitely don't want to have any drag, especially because you'll be carving and really getting over on your edge. So if you're really aggressively getting over on your edge and there could be a chance of your toes or heels dragging, then definitely get that wider board. It's Caden says, hi Kevin, I bought a 2020 Burton process board last season. Have you heard anything good about it? And what bindings would you recommend for that board? Yeah, so the Burton process is a softer board. It's probably around, I think it's like a 4 on the flex. So check out bindings with the softer flex as well. Maybe something like the bent metal transfers or like the Union Flight Pros, something that's a softer flex. Or the Union Contact Pros. All right. Hendrix says, where'd it go? Come back. Okay, where'd that go? Hendrix. Alex says, can you use a normal iron? You can, but it'll ruin the iron. Also, I think it's better to get like a proper waxing iron because you can control the temperature better. I don't know if like how hot like a regular iron gets, but it could get too hot. It could cause some problems because it's just not designed for waxing a board. David says, hello, what bindings would you recommend for beginners? Across the board, I always recommend if you're a beginner, start with a really inexpensive binding. It's also going to typically be a bit of a softer binding as well, which is good for beginners. So something like the bent metal transfers, Union Flight Pros, bindings in that sort of zone are definitely what you want to look at. Colin says, would rub-on wax work as well? Rub-on wax doesn't work that well, to be honest. I've used it a few times, and I think it can help you if like you get up on the mountain and you go to ride your board and you're getting stuck. Then that's when some rub-on wax can come into effect, like in an emergency. Just getting the rub-on wax out to have in an emergency is a good idea, but you don't want to like depend on rub-on wax. Like if there was a powder day tomorrow and my plan was just to put some rub-on wax the night before, that's not really a great way to do it. It's not the best wax to have. I think like sometimes with the rub-on stuff, like it can actually just wear out after a few runs. So it's good in an emergency, but it's not something that you want to really depend on. Trey wants to know, what is a good set for park bindings? So Yeah, I guess just to recap of these two, just of these two ones, Bet Mail Transfer, I think better for beginner to intermediate park riders, and the Union Stratas, a bit more intermediate to advanced. So that would be the difference between those two. And really, it's like that stiffer flex. I think with stiffer flex bindings, it's important for them to be stiffer for riding with more speed. So when you're more beginner intermediate, you're not going to be riding with as much speed. You're going to be going slower, and that's where a softer binding will really help you with your riding. El Stacker Adventures on here saying cannonball the like button. Awesome. Thanks, El Stacker. Thanks for being a moderator as well. We got Red's Cap on here, one of the moderators too. Thanks for hopping on, Reds. He says 188 people watching, 83 likes. Please hit the like button. Awesome. Thanks, Reds. The Adventure Kid says, are Nitro boards good? Yeah, I think Nitro boards are really good. I've had a few Nitro POW boards. I've ridden a few Nitro POW boards in the past. The Nitro POW is actually a board I owned and had a great time with it in Japan riding. And I have a friend who has the Nitro T1 who loves that board for the park too. So lots of good Nitro boards out there. All right. Markel saying, what is your opinion on the Libtech Skate Banana? The Skate Banana is it's like a very, I think, playful board. Something that as you're riding it, it's because of that skate tech. So the profile of the board is rocker. So the tips really rise away from the snow quite a bit. So you're going to get a really loose feeling snowboard. So that's good, makes it for easy turns, quick, easy turns, and really easy to press. So if that is something that you are looking for in your riding or looking for in a board, giving you that ability to turn quickly, then the Skate Banana could be the one. All right. Alex says, what is a good beginner powder binding? Awesome, Alex. So I think for beginner powder, you could do a mid-flex binding to a stiffer one. So you can definitely do something like the Now Drive, even if you are a beginner in the powder, just because you're probably not going to be riding with as much speed, but you can still use that. You can still use a stiffer binding even if you're a beginner, because you need that stability for riding through powder. So I still recommend a stiffer powder binding for sure. Something like the Now Drive or maybe the Union Atlas. You could also go softer. You could still do the Union Strata, have them on there, and just have that not as aggressive of a feel. But yeah, still lean towards a stiffer binding, even if you're a beginner powder rider. Jonathan Nichols with the super chat. Thanks for the support. Jonathan says, hey, Kevin, we see you updated your gear every year. What do you do with your last year's gear? Do you hold on to it, sell it, or donate it? I think I mostly donate it. So if recently I gave away a few boards and a jacket just because once I get some gear and I've used it for a bit and I know I'm not going to use it anymore, I really don't want to have to be holding on to it and just having it sitting away in storage. So I think donating it is the best thing to do, especially if you know somebody that needs like a board or a jacket. Just like giving it away. So I To be honest, I still have quite a bit of gear that is just sitting around that I need to give away. So yeah, I haven't completely done it, but I think it's that's the best bet is to give it away to somebody that needs it. But if you need some money to put towards some new gear, it can definitely be a good idea to maybe sell your last year's gear at a discounted price. Then somebody gets some good gear at a low price, and then you get some money to put towards some new gear as well. Daniel says, "Hey Kevin, what are your thoughts on the Capita Indoor Survival paired with the Union Contact Pro Scott Stevens?" Daniel, yeah, awesome combo, man. That's like a really fun park setup. So that's perfect. Javi says, "What all-weather goggles do you recommend? Price/quality?" So the goggles that I have, you can kind of see them, they're right up there, are the Anon M4s. And yeah, I love those ones. They're definitely on the pricier side. But the M4s, they're like, I think the largest goggle that Anon makes. You can also get the M3. They're a bit smaller. Comparable in price, the Oakley Line Miners are another one of my favorite pairs. I think the Line Miners are actually a little bit less expensive, and the Oakleys are really great quality too. So there's a few, but yeah, those are both on the more expensive side, just because for me, like, I'm snowboarding so much, like I don't mind paying more money for the higher quality goggles, but there's still some good goggles out there for less money. Some good Dragon goggles. Also Smith, I think the Smith Squad XL goggles are pretty nice too. They're lower price point. So yeah, there's a few more inexpensive goggles out there as well. The Adventure Kid says, "Are rocker boards good for going fast and doing jumps?" Honestly, I think rocker boards aren't that great for speed and jumps, because with the rocker, because like the tips of your board are rising away from the snow quite early, you don't have as much of your edge in contact with the snow, and your edges are what give you control and help you to slow down. So with less edge and touch with the snow, you're definitely gonna feel like you have less control, I think. So I think it's good for small jumps, for not riding with a lot of speed, for butters, for doing jibs like boxes and rails. But for riding with speeds and hitting like medium or larger jumps, I think a rocker board kind of holds you back a little bit. Takes away some of your stability on the snow. So something to be aware of, but there's like pros and cons with both, because if you go the opposite way to the camber board, like full camber with all of your edge on the snow, it makes the board a bit more catchy too. So there's always like pros and cons with the different board tech. All right, another super chat from Jonathan Nichols says, "Kevin just bought the Volcom guide jacket to go with the articulated pants. What do you think of the Volcom outerwear line?" Yeah, man, I love it. So this year I've got the Volcom Stretch Gore-Tex jacket with the Stretch Gore-Tex pants. So I love the Volcom stuff. Last year I had the Volcom Gooch outerwear. Jacket and pants, which I think is like the same as the guide jacket. So yeah, just like really good quality, lots of good pockets, Gore-Tex, and the fit is really nice too. So I'm a big fan of the Volcom stuff. I think I may have I have some more. I have another jacket and pants setup on the way too. So you guys might see that. You guys might see that in a little bit. But yeah, big fan of the Volcom outerwear. Yeah, just to let you guys know too, if you're spamming the channel with questions, somebody's gonna block you. So yeah, Daniel, Demorex, don't ask the same question over and over again, or else you're just gonna get somebody's gonna block you. Just a heads up. Rylan says, what do you think of the Union Falcore bindings? Yeah, those look really nice as well. Stiffer bindings, so like maximum performance. So if you're like racing, carving, doing like big mountain riding, the Union Falcores are pretty nice. I would, I guess the only thing would be that, yeah, they're more expensive and they're very aggressive. So just keep that in mind. All right. Yeah, and people want to know, what do I think about Burton Step-Ons? So I talked about this a lot, but yeah, Burton Step-Ons are definitely good for if your priority is the convenience of like getting in and out of the bindings very quickly, then the Step-Ons can be for you. Somebody says I missed a super chat. Let me just go back and see if what I missed. I can't go back any further. Let me just go over to, no. Mark says, what is the best stance for a 4-day ski trip with a mix of mountain and terrain? I think that if you're not going into the park, then you want to have a directional stance. So maybe something like -9 at the back and plus like 18 in the front. It's just going to give you more of a directional stance, and also set your stance more towards the tail of your snowboard. So with a smaller tail, it's just going to make turns, your turns easier, bringing that tail around quicker. So yeah, directional stance if you're not planning on going into the park, riding in the same direction. Somebody says I missed a super chat, but if I did miss it, maybe somebody can repost what the question was, so then I can answer it. Just a kid with a camera says, is 20 liter too small for a backpack on the mountain? No, I think it kind of depends. Like my backpack is 25 liters, and I feel like I can fit everything in there I need. Camera gear, maybe a layer, snack, water, all that kind of stuff. On the day that I went up the other day with Chris, and we had our Avi gear, so the beacon, shovel, and probe, all that stuff fit into the backpack as well. So yeah, if you have it kind of depends on what you're gonna do. If you're planning on some like longer hikes, then maybe try to go with a 25 liter. But if it's just gonna be for the resort, then a 20 liter I think is fine. Yeah, 20 liter if it's just purely resort riding. Maybe think of the 25 liter if you're going to be going on some longer hikes or things like that. But yeah, for snowboarding, typically, yeah, 20 to 25 is like a good size. If you're going on very long hikes, then you maybe want to get an even bigger bag. So I have 2 backpacks. Like I also have an Arc'teryx backpack, which I think is 35 liters, and that one's like pretty big, and that's the one I take like if I'm going on like a 5-hour hike. Okay. All right, see there's a super chat here. Let's see if I can get to it. No, not yet. Okay, so Jonathan Nichols with another super chat says, no question, just wanted to let you know that I love the channel and the content you put out with gear guides and how-to videos. Awesome, Jonathan. Yeah. Well, yeah, appreciate the support, man. And yeah, I'm glad the videos are helping helping you with snowboarding. That's amazing to hear, man. I'll definitely keep the videos coming. Maybe if you guys have any suggestions or requests for videos too, let me know. If there's anything that I haven't covered for gear or like how-tos, maybe let me know in the comments now too. Because yeah, we're coming into the full snowboard season where everything is opening up. So yeah, if you guys have any questions about that, definitely hit me up. A Million Pop-Off says, I know you're not the biggest fan of 3BT or TBT, triple bass technology. Yeah, it's not like, well, I do have, actually, I've got the Surfer, the Battalion Surfer. So for like powder, I think it's amazing. So for the powder riding, I really liked the Battalion Surfer with the 3BT. So basically, like, if you guys don't know, like that means that the tips of the board on Battalions are like kind of shaped like a spoon. So they have like a really 3D spoon shape. TBT is triple bass technology. So there's almost like 3 angles happening. But I'm not like a fan of it for like riding the resort, riding groomers, and for park, just because for me, I feel like it takes away a bit of my control. So that's the one place that I don't like it, but I know that some people do like it for that as well. So it's kind of personal preference. All right, let's go for a couple more questions. Just let you guys know too, a heads up, I'm gonna have some more Snowboard Pro Camp beanies really soon. So I know a few people have been asking me about those. So I think in like a week or two, I'm going to be getting a shipment of Snowboard Pro Camp beanies. So if you guys want a beanie, stay tuned. We'll have those back soon as well. And then also, if you guys are interested in checking out any of these bindings, there's links to them in the description. And in every video, there's links to my gear as well. So one way that to support the channel and to keep the content rolling is to get your gear through the links. Then it's one of the ways that just allows me to do this channel full time. So just want to let you guys know about that as well. And a super chat from JF. JF says, I wear a size 6 men's boot. As an intermediate to advanced rider, is going for an Orca going to be too wide of a board? Good question, JF. I don't think so. I think as long as because the Orca comes in a pretty wide range of sizes now, so it kind of depends on your weight as well. So depending on your weight, check out the sizing chart, and if your weight falls within one of the smaller sizes of Orca, then you should be good. If it's like way too big for you, like in terms of just purely based on weight, then I would say it may be too big. But yeah, just check out, go online, check out some of the different sizes of Orca, and then usually there is a size chart that goes along with that. So I don't think your boot size won't affect it too much. You can still get away with getting an Orca if your weight falls in the range. But JF, thanks for the support, man. And Lucas Spa with a super chat as well. Thanks for the support. Says, do you think the Burton Imperials would be good for a Jones Mountain Twin with Union Atlas bindings? My riding style is all mountain and maybe 10 to 20% off piste. Or could you think of a better boot for me? So Jones Mountain Twin with Union Atlas bindings. Cool. So a fairly aggressive setup. To be honest, I haven't ridden the Burton Imperials in a long time. Let me look those up. I think at one point I did actually ride the Burton Imperials. Just gonna quickly look this guy up. All right, so they're pretty nice looking boots. Oh dang. Product details. Yeah, so they're actually, yeah, they're stiffness scale 7 out of 10. And yeah, that's a pretty aggressive setup you already have. So yeah, that looks pretty nice. Kind of a stiffer boot with the stiffer board and bindings. I think that's a great combination. For me personally, yeah, like I guess for me, like the Speed Zone laces on the Burton, I've had problems with those in the past with them like ripping, but I also do like a ton of riding, so it may be just like too much wear and tear from me. But yeah, those look pretty nice. Kind of like a stiffer binding. I think that's a good choice, man. Yeah, Lucas Spa. I think the Burton Imperials are awesome. All right, let's do another one or two. Thanks, NGen, for hopping on the chat as well. One of the moderators. Shout out to NGen, L Stacker, to Reds, all the moderators on here. Guy Miller with the super chat says, so he's 6'3", 190 pounds, size 12 shoe, all mountain board, and thinking of the wired directive over the T2B. Thoughts? Any suggestions? Boarding in Whistler. I haven't ridden a wired board before, but I know that they're like a more local company, I think based in Vancouver. So that's awesome that you're supporting a local company like Wired. So that's sick, man. I would say that with the size 12 shoes, make sure that you get the wide version of the board, and I think you're good. I don't know about the wired directive or the T2B, but as long as you get the wide version, you're good. And boarding in Whistler. So any other suggestions? So it kind of depends. Like make sure that you're getting a board that really suits your what type of riding that you want to do mostly. So boarding in Whistler, if you're riding through the trees, if you're riding in powder, then get a board that suits that as well. So something that's going to do well in those conditions. But yeah, Wired, I've heard some good things, and it's cool to support a company from Canada. So that's awesome, man. And Mitchell says, is the Capita Scott Stevens board too soft for all mountain? I think it is. If you're going for like a pure all mountain, if that's like your goal for riding, I would say the Scott Stevens is probably too soft. It does look amazing, and it's really good for the park and for butters and for jibs and stuff. It's amazing for there, but it may be a bit too soft for all mountain. Unless you're like more beginner to intermediate style all mountain, then you could probably get away with that softer flex board, but it's not the prime board for all mountain riding. All right. JG says, hey Kevin, love your channel and content. Looking for a stiff binding for Orca/Mercury. Thoughts on bent metal Core Pro, Union Stratas, Atlas, Force. I'm open to suggestions. Nice. So Orca, Mercury. Yeah, I would either look at the Atlas or the Force. So I think the Forces are a little bit softer than the Atlas, so maybe check out the Forces. But yeah, you could go for, I would go for one of those two more aggressive bindings. Yeah, the Atlas or the Force. Yeah, both those are good. So if I had the Orca now, I'd be riding the Atlas with them. Awesome. We got a super chat from Robert Fowler. Robert says, would you use the Stratas on a party wave plus or Atlas like your surfer? On the party wave, yeah, I would probably go with something stiffer. I'd probably go with the Atlas on the party wave. Yeah, just because I believe that the party wave is a pretty stiff board too. So yeah, the Party Wave. I know that TJ over on Board Archive, he rides the Party Wave, and I think he's riding it with the Atlas bindings, and that's what I would ride it with too, because for the Party Wave, yeah, it's more aggressive for riding with speed. It's a wider board too, so with a wider board, you need it's better to have a binding that can put more force into it to really use to help you to manage that wider width. So I would go for the Atlas. All right, cool guys. Nolan says, hey Kevin, do you think with a size 11 boot, I will need a wide board, or will I be good with just normal? Nolan, yeah, for a size 11, it's kind of, that's like the line right there. That's kind of like you're right on the border. And if I had size 11 boots, I would probably, you don't have to go full wide. There's also mid-wide boards. So maybe look at some mid-wide or wide, because size 11, just because you're right on that border, sometimes I think with the normal width board, you're going to have some heel or toe drag. So I would say just go with a mid-wide or wide snowboard. And Yoshi Sam with the super chat. Awesome. Thanks for the support, Yoshi. Obi-Wan says, I still have my original clickers from the 90s. Yeah, the K2 clickers. I had a pair of those in the 90s as well. The ones without a high back. It was just a boot with the clicker on the board. Yeah, that was funny. That was my very first pair of bindings. Rylan says, what bindings do you recommend for the Capita DOA? I'd recommend the same as what I have on my Super DOA. I'd probably go for something like the Union Stratus. And a few people asking about riding the 2020 Burton Step-Ons, and I haven't ridden those in a couple of years, but if I do get a chance, I may I may get them out for a demo. I think in Comore and Whistler, you may be able to demo the Step-On, so I might check those out. Tiago Mills with the super chat says, just joining Stratas plus 2019 DOA for all mountain park. Yeah, that's like a perfect combo, man. So you've got sort of that mid-flex binding and snowboard combo, which can do a bit of both. So that's perfect setup, man. And Hendrix says, hi Kevin, is the Union Atlas a good binding for the Jones Flagship? Combines with a stiffer boot, Solomon Malamute. I have the Union Stratas for my softer boards. Yeah, that's a really good combo. That's exactly what I would do as well for the Flagship. Good combo, man. Awesome. Sweet guys, so I'm going to end the live chat there, but yeah, I really appreciate everyone coming on to hang out, to ask questions about bindings. I hope this helped to clear up if you guys had any issues or any questions about bindings or how to pair them with the board. I hope this gave you guys some clarity. But yeah, big shout out to everyone that did a super chat. If you guys haven't yet, definitely subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. If you hit the bell, you'll get notified every time I go live. And yeah, we have here in Whistler, we have a powder day coming up. I think it's Monday or Tuesday. So a big powder day on the way to Whistler. So excited for that. So keep an eye out for that video. And also some park riding on the way too. This year in Whistler, they're between Whistler and Blackcomb, they're only going to have a park on one mountain on Blackcomb. So I'm looking forward to checking out the Blackcomb Terrain Park. Before I go, one last question. Yoshi, who tried to ask a question with his super chat, but it didn't come through. He says, how do you afford to travel to different resorts? So one way that actually makes it cheaper is to, like for me, I've actually got the Icon Pass and the Epic Pass. And so getting like one of those multi resort passes makes traveling cheaper. And also, instead of staying in like hotels, often staying in like an Airbnb is cheaper as well. And if you do book a hotel, I think if you go on the mobile site of booking.com, you save like 10%. So I try to save money on the trips wherever I can. And then the only way I can afford it is through the channel. So through you guys with the super chats, through the ads on the videos, or through if you guys buy any gear through the links. So that's how I afford to travel and make the videos. But yeah, maybe this year I'll do a video on how to travel cheaply for snowboarding, because it's definitely an expensive sport. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys are having a great weekend out there. And I also want to do a live chat at some point, live from the mountain, taking you guys up and doing like a lap maybe through the park or somewhere like that. But yeah, until then, guys, have a great weekend. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys on here soon. See you guys.